All right. Hi, Sarah.
Hi, Leah. I'm happy to
Hi.
be here.
I'm so happy that you're here. I was telling you in the email, I think that we met kind of in passing many moons ago at the Natural Expo East or West, I don't remember. And you, at that time, were just starting your new show on Discovery, I believe. So that probably
Yeah.
was 15, 16 years ago, right?
Gosh, was it that long ago? It probably was. If I was just starting Discovery shows, then yeah, it
Yeah.
probably was
Wow.
15 years ago.
Well, even if you're listening to this in podcast audio form, I want you to come watch it on YouTube too, because I want you to see Sarah's beautiful face. When I think of you, ever since I met you, you're beautiful, but you do have that such a fresh, alive, healthy glow to you, and it's just, it reinforces what you do. It reinforces that you walk your talk and you live the life that you talk about, and it's really refreshing. So. I hope
Yeah,
everybody.
thank you.
Yeah, you're
Thank you.
welcome. So, Sarah, you've done a multitude of things. You've worn many hats. Your passion has always been nutrition and wellness, and you kind of grew up that way. And today, I want us to talk about how nutrition affects mental health and emotional health. But before we get there, I do want to hear a little bit more about, what's captivating your interest these days, because I know you still do your cooking shows, and you have a YouTube channel and Instagram channel that you share recipes and things with, but what else is going on in your world?
Yeah, so my husband and I have two little girls, and we've kind of ping-ponged back and forth across the country over the last decade. I would say we were in the Midwest for a while. We both grew up in the Midwest, and then we were in LA, and then we were on the East Coast, right outside of New York City, and are now back in California. But the when I was on the East Coast, I started being really keyed into that just high levels of stress in people around me, and I think it's particularly an East Coast thing. It's particularly the fact that at that point I now have kids who are in school, so it was being among other parents who have kids in school and just feeling this high level of anxiety, and I looked at it as I grew up in a way that was so focused on health and just simplicity in lifestyle and all of that. And looking at the people around me and seeing that there's nothing simplistic about this
Right.
lifestyle. And yet, it would be way too much to suggest to someone that they try to get back to that place. Instead, it was let's meet these people where they are and see how, in any way, I can affect change in their lives so that they just feel more at peace with everything going on around them. So, I actually started a journey of becoming certified as a coach to work individually with women primarily. I work with men also, but with women primarily to just take a look at their lives and say, okay, how can we do this better? How can we do life better? And just simplify the way, whether it's nutrition or it's mindset, but it all just relates to health many different ways. And so that's a lot of what I do now is I work individually with women. I work with small groups of women also, where I'll coach them through as a group so that they're building that community that we've all become a little bit more starved for in this last year.
Yeah.
And I think that there's power in community, especially community of women. So I keep those groups really small so that there is this natural intimacy that can come out of it also.
Yeah.
um, and it's just it's great work. It's exciting, fun
Yeah.
stuff.
Well, I really do love what you do, and I appreciate what you do. I think when I think of you, I think you and I are similar in a way that our focus is about health and wellness, but there's an entrepreneurial spirit underneath. You're a mom, as you said, but you're an author. You've had two TV shows on Discovery. You've done coaching programs. You're always kind of not reinventing yourself, but evolving and answering the call of the needs that you see. And so when I see
Hmm.
that in anyone, but in particular a woman, I'm like the biggest cheerleader, like, here she goes, because we have to keep up with it and keep growing ourselves and keep, being the inspiration and the light and being aware of what people are needing out there. So I love the coaching and the small groups that you're doing. I try to do a similar kind of thing in my work as far as, offering different kinds of platforms or groups or, meditation classes or what have you, just to give people that sense of community. It's really important.
That's so funny, Leah. I was just having this conversation with someone earlier today that was the same thing. I've become such a cheerleader for women. And there are so many ways that we could talk about this. And there are so many kind of movements that are shaped around this and helping women have an equal seat at the table and all that stuff. But I really think that women have so much to contend with on a day-to-day basis that in any ways that we can help to strengthen women so that they feel empowered to overcome, or they feel empowered to go to that sort of 2.0 version of themselves and rediscover. And I guess in many ways I've done that myself.
You
I
have.
grew up as this almost hippie kid in the middle of Michigan, the daughter and granddaughter of entrepreneurs, very successful entrepreneurs. And my grandfather was a really successful entrepreneur, and he wanted to hand his business over to my dad, but my dad said, no, I want to change the world through food. I have this passion for food. And so he created Eden Foods and a bunch of other natural foods companies, and then turned to his four kids and said, this has been my life's work. Who's going to do it? And all four of us said, but yes, and our own thing. And I kind of took it and I said, no, I have this real passion for television, and did a career on television, but then also found a way to weave it back to that. And I think that I keep doing that. I no longer am willing to travel 80% of the time, which was what I was doing before. I'm no
Right.
longer willing to get on airplanes as frequently as I was before. I just don't think it's a necessary thing to work into my life. Um, and that there are so many other ways that I can affect change and access people and help them on these journeys to healthier living. And I really want other people to understand that too. It's not a box. We're not having to live in a box. Just reinvent that and find new ways to get out there and do all the things that you want to do, because there are just infinite numbers of or infinite opportunities out there.
Yeah, there truly are. And it's amazing. It's amazing what we have access to now. You can do
Mhm.
anything you want to do, literally. It's not just your
Yeah.
parents telling you that when you're kids, you can really
Yeah.
do. And most of it you can do from your living room or your family room.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about food today, because I know, the ins and outs of all of it. And I think people get really confused still, as much information as we're almost in information overload,
Mhm.
but people still struggle to eat well and to take care of themselves nutritionally. And it is a foundational piece of wellness across the board. I believe, even in my spiritual work and in the emotional and healing work that I do, it has to start in the foundation of the body. And if it doesn't, then we're always going to kind of be off our center and off kilter in a way. So I wanted to talk to you about food, and that the way that it affects our mental health and our emotional health. Now, I know there's a million different diet programs, and I think I have a pretty good read on, your particular, the natural way that you incorporate foods into your life. But in general, does food affect mental health?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, if you look at it, if we just break it down to the most simple form, we all know what hangry feels like. We
Yes.
all know what it feels like when you haven't properly nourished your body. And from a really basic standpoint, that is, you haven't fed your body, so you're really hungry and it makes you irritable. But then the same thing can happen also when it's not just that you haven't fed your body, but you haven't fed your body well. You haven't properly nourished your body, and therefore you start feeling irritable. Your energy gets depleted really, really quickly. And I would say that those are the two things that I see the most: are the energy roller coaster,
Hmm.
because you feel low, so you eat sugars, you eat carbohydrates, you're high, but then you crash, so you eat the wrong things again, and it's that roller coaster. Versus eating a really balanced, well planned meals, which is something that adults really struggle with. They'll put their
Yeah.
focus on making sure that the kids' meals are well planned, but they don't focus so well on themselves. But really shifting that so that you start to focus on yourself, and you eat from the beginning of the day through. Even if you're doing some sort of intermittent fasting thing, it's really looking at that window when you are deciding to eat and making sure you're planned and you're having balanced meals, so that your mental state can remain steady and balanced as well throughout the day.
Okay, so that sounds beautiful and wonderful. And why is it so freaking hard to do? It's
I
so
think
hard to
it's
do it.
time. I think
Time?
it's time. I honestly think it's time. And I think it's just prioritizing and saying, okay, I'm going to think ahead. So do you have kids, Leah? I can't remember.
No, I had stepkids years ago, but no,
Yeah.
I'm free willing and I still feel like I don't have time. I have two animals and I have, 14 legs of a business to take care of,
Right. No,
but
and I'm not even saying it's the kids that
yeah.
take away the time, because with or without kids or empty nesting or whatever it might be, the time is still gone. But the reason I ask about kids is that when someone has a couple of kids at home
Mm,
or something, they think about the groceries, right? They
yes.
think like, oh, all right, at some point this week, I'll make a pasta dish and maybe I'll roast some chicken with vegetables, and I'm really trying to do brown rice instead of white rice because I know it's better for my kids, or I'm going to get salmon in because the pediatrician said it's really good for his 6-year-old brain or
Right.
something. And they put that thought and planning into it for the kids. When the kids are out of the picture, though, we'll feed ourselves whatever feels good, whatever tastes good, or whatever is quick. And that is where we as adults get into trouble. We
Yeah,
just
it's a
eat
big
the wrong
problem.
things. And then there's the whole diet mentality of, well, this is too many fat grams, there's too many calories, so I should have this instead. And then you're not feeding your body and you're not getting the full balance that you need. And then that causes a whole bunch of problems also.
Yeah, it really does. And you would think I totally hear you. And I know what you're saying is accurate. And even for myself, I love to eat good food. I love to eat organic, farm to table food. I love to eat well prepared food, but I'm not necessarily a cook. I don't like doing it for myself. It's not because I don't love myself. I just rather be doing other things. I'd rather be painting or doing something outside. You know what I mean? So
Right,
I struggle
right.
with that. So then I'll just have dinner, will be like hummus and some vegetables and, a gluten-free waffle. It just gets ridiculous.
Hmm.
So how do you coach people in general to maintain that steady all day long? You're not going to have these mood swings and these energy swings. How would you coach just the mass population of here's some starter points?
Yeah. Okay. So it would be big picture. Like, let's look at the day and make sure you are getting your nutritional needs taken care of. And some people like to eat in the morning and some people don't like to eat in the morning. If you like to eat in the morning, then let's really get a lot on that breakfast plate. So, eggs and some steamed spinach, or saute some vegetables. And do the eggs and then some sort of grain or starch in there also. If you don't like to eat in the morning, then do a green juice or a smoothie with a lot of bright berries in it and a little avocado or something.
Hmm.
Lunch is tough for people. Unless they're eating out, lunch becomes a snacky thing, or it gets skipped. And then it becomes a 2, 3 o'clock, hit the
I'm starving.
pantry,
Yeah.
and you're so starving that you eat all the wrong things. So, one of the things that I really work with women on is to prioritize lunch and make lunch a deliberate time where you sit down and you disconnect from all of your technology. You're not answering emails while you're eating. You're not running to the kitchen, getting a plate and bringing it back to your computer and eating your lunch. It's like unplug for 20 minutes and sit down and eat that meal. And the most incredible thing happens when women start to do that, because not only is their body getting nourished, but their spirit is as well. And they all of a sudden feel like they're giving themselves a gift,
Hmm.
and they start to love themselves and value themselves and realize how treasured they are just by making that one small shift.
Yeah, that's a good shift to make because I fall right in that category of,
Hmm.
oh, I'm not hungry right now. And then I'm angry and doing
Right,
the pantry
right.
dance for
Yes,
3 hours in
totally.
the afternoon. What's
Exactly.
in there
And you
now? What's
keep
in there
going back.
now?
Right. Did it change magically somehow? And then for dinner, it's really cooking big meals, making a big deal about dinner, but not cooking every night. Like seven, you don't need to cook 7 meals
Hmm.
every week. It doesn't need to be done. Cook big quantities and eat it again. So grill some chicken and make rice bowls with it one night, and the next night saute some vegetables and turn it into a stir fry. And but you're grilling enough chicken that you don't have to redo the protein 2 nights in a row. Or
Yeah.
Rice bowls are a staple in my family. We
Yeah,
do 2 or 3 versions a week, I would say, because it checks all the boxes,
it
right?
really
You've
does.
got the whole grain brown rice, you've got the lean good protein in there, and then you just fill the rest with vegetables.
Yeah. So what do you say for people that are struggling like with maybe depression or through this whole COVID situation, men and women? Some people have gone one direction where they're like, oh, now I have time to, do my workouts on Zoom and have more time to eat better. And they've really gotten fit. And then there's this other, person who is struggling to keep the weight down and they've, just can't, they're having a hard time taking care of themselves in as positive as a way as they were when they had a routine and a schedule. So I think all of us though collectively, there's this dampened kind of persistent energy going that's, can be feel depressive or feeling like we're trapped. So how would you are there certain foods that are maybe stimulants that help us feel lighter or happier or more inspired or anything like that?
Yeah, there are, and many of them come straight from fruits and vegetables.
Mm,
So it goes back to that thing that we've been hearing and I've been saying for 10, 15 years about eat a rainbow. But really, as much as you can focus on eating a brainbow, is what I would then call it, because it helps your brain. It's not just that all the different colors and all the different phytonutrients that you end up getting help your heart and help your eyes and help your lungs and help your immunity and all that stuff. All that is happening, but it's also triggering all these different parts of your brain and really feeding your brain in different ways. So
mm,
if you eat all the colors, you get that balanced mindset also that happens there. And when I say that, then people are like, oh my gosh, so I have to have all the colors
right.
all the time, all the way through the day. But there are easy ways to do that. So if you have a smoothie in the morning, then get something red in there and a couple things green and see what other colors you can get in there. It's easy to get red, orange, and purple, right?
Hmm.
And then green is easy too. So throw those things in a smoothie and, box checked, you did it. Good job. And then at lunch, just look at your plate when you sit down to eat and how could I add some more colors. So I'll sometimes look at my plate, or when I'm packing lunch for my daughters, I'll look at what I have and say, oh, I got to get some more colors in there. And then you just do a quick scan of the fridge. Oh, if I sliced up an orange pepper, that would add some extra color there.
Mm,
And I'll throw in a couple of yellow tomatoes, or I'll throw in some slices of an apple or something like that. Just look at each plate and see where you can get some more color in.
yeah.
Same with your dinner. Um, and then when it's time for the snacks, try to avoid the pantry and go to the refrigerator as much as possible.
I
The
think that's
fridge
a
is
really
going to
good
have the
tip
healthiest
just
stuff.
in life. Try to avoid the pantry and go to the refrigerator.
Yeah.
Because I can hear people now, because I thought it, well, I can get my color. I don't eat Fruit Loops, but some people do. It's like, well, the
Right, right.
colors, I can get all that in one box.
Totally.
Not what
There,
we're
yep.
talking about.
No, no, it's got to be the fresh stuff. It absolutely does. And as much of it as you can even grow on your own,
Hmm.
so much better off you'll be as well.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great tip. I remember you may know the stat, but what is it when you go to the grocery store? It's supposed to be like 80% on the outside of the aisles and only 20% inside or something on the
Yeah,
rows.
any grocery store. No, nearly any grocery store. I'm trying to think if I can think of an exception. There's got to be an exception out there, but
Yeah.
nearly any grocery store, the healthiest food is the perimeter. The produce is always on the perimeter, and then generally it's dairy and frozen and are all on the perimeter. And the center of the store are the packaged foods right up alongside the cleaning products.
Mm,
All of
mhm.
that sits right in the middle of the store. So always do the perimeter first, like do that whole perimeter first, and then go up and down in the center aisles, because by the time you hit those center aisles, you'll be a little tired, you'll
Yeah.
be ready to get out of there, and your cart's going to be full.
Yeah, that's great. Well, when I think of you and your work, I don't know how to say this. I want you to hear it the way I'm trying to say it. I think of you as like a moderate, meaning you don't have these extreme health tips for people. And what do you think about? I'm sure in some ways, some people might think you're extreme, just depending on where they're
Yeah.
coming from. But there's certain people like the Atkins diet or medical medium, or these people that have gotten really popular that espouse kind of these certain diet plans, or like when you were talking about eggs, medical medium says no eggs, eggs feed viruses or whatever. And then the Atkins guy says, no carbs except for 2 fruits a day. So what do you think about these kinds of diet programs or paleo that support just kind of one way of eating?
I think in general, they're not sustainable, and they may help you overcome a particular something that you're struggling with, but you're not going to be able to stick with it. There are, of course, always extreme dietary needs or restrictions that people have to be on for given conditions. And then there is a case for a number of different diets to deal with those certain things. But just for the average person who's struggling a little bit with their energy level, they're struggling to have good sleep at night, they're struggling with 5 to 10 extra pounds that they can't seem to lose. Those things in general can be fixed, cured, healed, overcome by eating a balanced, whole foods, mostly plant-based diet. And by the mostly plant-based diet, here's what I mean by that.
Mhm.
So even with veganism, I think that there are some really great qualities to veganism, and it really works for some people. But I've seen a lot of people who try to go vegan, and they just end up eating a whole lot of packaged foods because they
Right.
feel really restricted and they're not quite sure what to eat and they don't know how to do it well. So they end up eating all this other junk. It's an entirely different thing to watch the story of someone who has gone vegan, who has all the best support around
Mhm.
him and has other people even helping to plan and prepare his meals, and then say, okay, I'm going to try to do that on my own, and just feel so restricted and so stuck, and then end up eating all the wrong stuff, and people end up gaining weight then, and they did it to try to lose weight. So
Yep.
I think that the healthiest thing for our planet overall is to eat mostly plants, and I think it's the healthiest thing for our bodies as well. So, what I encourage people to do is when you look at your plate, you fix your plate, it's lunch or it's dinner, and I want half of that to be fruits and vegetables. So,
Mhm.
half of the plate, every single meal should be fruits and vegetables. And then quarter of the plate, let's call it, is your the other half of the plate is split between lean protein, some healthy fats, and some grains, whole grains,
Okay.
but that focus on the fruits and vegetables first versus the other stuff. So that would
Yeah.
mean a big plate of pasta is not massive amounts of pasta and then some sauce on top.
Right.
It's a half a plate of a vegetable, whether it's a spiralized zucchini or a spiralized squash, or it's just a whole lot of steamed broccoli on the side or something, but that focus on vegetables first.
Yeah. I'm really appreciative of you saying that. And, I've when I was 14, I had the heart to go vegetarian, and I was a fine vegetarian. But I think a lot of people, including myself at the time, didn't really know. I didn't know what it meant. I knew what it meant, but I didn't know how to do it well. And then I started working at a health food store. And then, of course, it's like, oh, we have this new protein bar and we have this new, cracker come in. And before you know it, you're into all the boxes and all the packaging, right? But I do remember, and this, I want to say this for protein eaters, animal protein eaters, that in my 20s, I think I was in my 20s, late 20s probably, I started having really bad anxiety again after having had it in my, earlier life. And then my menstrual period got off whack. And then I felt so ungrounded. I didn't feel like myself. Um, and I had been vegetarian for 14 years and then vegan for a couple of years. And I went to a naturopath in California. I was living in California at the time. And he said, I want you to eat some lamb, just a few bites a week of, it's the cleanest grass fed lamb that you can find. And I went to Whole Foods and I got the lamb and I was choking it down. And he said,
I
think of it
had
like
the
medicine.
exact same experience.
Really? Yeah. And so I was like, just think of it as medicine, and so
Yes.
I did. But then after that, Sarah, I felt like $1 million. I was like, oh my
Yeah.
God. And then I went the other extreme. And then I always say to
Yeah.
my friends, I was like, I was driving down the road and I saw this dog running on the side of the road. I was like, I need to eat
I
that
got
thing.
hungry.
But it, really balanced me out and gave me what my body needed at that time. And, the fat and the important fats and amino acids and proteins that I wasn't getting before. That doesn't mean you have to be, I'm not telling everyone to go eat lamb or that you have to eat animal protein, but you have to know what you're doing,
Yes.
or I got myself really screwed up is the
Right.
short of that story.
Well, and I appreciate what you said at the beginning about how it's nutrition and it's body work and being healthy in your body and in your mind through breath work and through the right types of yoga and sound therapy and all those different things. I got to a point where I had a 7-year infertility journey, 7
Mm.
years of unexplained infertility. So no doctor could tell me why I couldn't get pregnant,
Oh, wow.
but I couldn't. And my husband was fine, and my hormone levels were a little off. We eventually discovered something that was off that we were able to fix. But it was when I went to a particular acupuncturist in Santa Monica, and he said, I want you to eat grass fed beef 3 times a week.
Oh,
And he
wow.
said, Sarah, I'm not telling you to go out and eat a burger 3 times a week.
Yeah.
I want you to eat like this much. That's
Right.
all you have to do. And same thing, I had to like choke it down. And I just had to say, think of it as medicine, think of it
Mhm.
as medicine. And it was 2 things though that he had me do once I started seeing Dr. Kim was to start eating a little bit of grass-fed meat every single week. 3 things actually, because the third one's kind of funny. Meditating every day, and that
Mhm.
was huge because
Mm.
this was at a time when I thought I was so healthy. I was so healthy. I was on
Right.
TV every day talking about how to be healthier. I was thin. I felt energized in my body. Um, and I looked very healthy, but I was stressed and I was
Mm.
exhausted. And I'm sure I had a level of adrenal fatigue. And it was showing up only in that I would get very tired by 2 o'clock in the afternoon and I couldn't get pregnant. I just couldn't get pregnant. So the meditating every day was a really big part of that also. And then the third thing he told me was drink nothing but water and vodka. It was
Well,
really funny,
vodka is the
right?
cleanest alcohol, right?
It's the cleanest alcohol, but what he was also saying was stop, no coffee. And I've kind of been on and off with coffee for 20 years.
Yeah.
I don't drink any coffee now, and I've gone through only short phases where I would drink a bit of coffee, but mostly it was tea. And at the time, I was drinking a lot of tea, but a lot of the teas were herbal and instructional
Oh,
teas. So it was almost like I was giving my body too much
yeah.
instruction. Wake
Right.
up, digest, rest, now calm
Yeah.
down to go to sleep, like all the different things throughout the day. And it was just too much instruction. So he said, I want you to drink nothing but water. You can drink it warm in the morning, you can drink it warm at night,
Mhm.
cool during the day. And then if you're drinking anything else, vodka, and that's it. He didn't say drink a lot of water and a lot of vodka. He just said water and vodka. But somehow the combination of those 3 things, and I was able to shift enough internally to finally
Right.
get pregnant.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, it's so important to know your body, and just be
Mhm.
aware. People put their, as you said, when you have kids or something else to feed or take care of, it's so easy to see what's going on outside of us, but we have to be aware of what's going on and to know how to adjust. We can make simple adjustments. I've had food allergies that I wouldn't even call them an allergy. It was just like a food reaction and made me feel like crap. It's like,
Right,
stop eating that. I don't feel like crap anymore.
right.
It's amazing.
Yeah, I really think that there's so much value to finding that holistic practitioner near you, to journey it with you, or at least someone who can call in blood work so you can see if you're off somewhere, or find a health coach who can journey this with you. I think that we are so concerned with finding an out of network doctor
Mhm.
that people would rather just go in for their annual checkup with their GP doc. But their GP doc isn't necessarily going to say, let's really look at everything that you're eating and how that's contributing to your lack of energy at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It's just not their highest priority generally
Right.
during that visit. Um, but find that person. It more often than not will be a 2 or 3 visit thing, and then you go about your year or your 2 years before
Mhm.
you decide to go back and check in. So I never want someone to be afraid to find that naturopath or the acupuncturist or someone in town who could help them because they're afraid it's going to end up costing them thousands of dollars. It's probably one visit, a little bit of blood work, and a follow up visit, and then you have your plan.
Yeah.
Or go to a really good coach who can help you through it also, where it's a series of sessions and then you go about your life. It's not going to be a visit to this doctor that you're paying boatloads out of pocket for every single month. It's
Yeah.
just a couple times. And then you can know yourself, know your body, know what you're dealing with. So you can be your own biggest advocate.
Yeah, that's great advice. Thank you for that. So, what about for a person who is struggling to lose weight? Are you a proponent on reducing sugar or adding more protein or stopping eating at 7 p.m.? Do you have a couple of tips for people that just, whether it's the COVID 15 or the college 15, or just to feel more like, a healthier version of themselves?
Yeah, I think that there are a couple things that people can do. Um, One is to quit the alcohol.
Mm,
Alcohol adds so many calories, and it inhibits, or it makes you freer to walk to the pantry at 9:30 when you're starting episode 2 of whatever show you're watching and say, "Oh,
right.
I need a little snack." It just it puts an acidity in your stomach that then you want to counterbalance by eating some salty carbs, and it's just a ton of calories. So, to the best that you can, stop the alcohol. If that
Mhm.
means no drinking during the week and only having a cocktail or two on the weekend, that right there is going to make a massive difference. I mean, I've seen people drop the 5 to 15 that they're carrying just from that one change.
Mm,
Um, I also think there's something to eliminating coffee. For some people, coffee is perfect. People do really well in coffee. For other people, it leads to that up down roller coaster too much, and then they end up reaching for food to balance it out. So look at that in you. If you decide to eliminate coffee, know that you're going to have headaches for the first 3 or 4 days, but after about day 4, you're out of the headaches, and then you can really watch your energy level just even keel, balance out, and feel really easy. So that, I think that gluten and dairy can be big triggers for people. Gluten, dairy, soy, corn, they're kind of, the top ones. Um, and eliminating gluten and dairy feels really overwhelming to people. And it's not a necessary long-term thing for most people,
mm.
but it can be a really interesting thing to do for 30 days to say, okay, I'm gonna
Yeah.
do 30 days of no alcohol, no gluten, no dairy, maybe no coffee, and just see where you feel at the end of those 30 days and then decide what you want to put back in. I watch so many people do this. So when I work with people, I'll work with people through a longer, maybe a 3 month or a 6 month journey of really changing a lot of things in diet, but then also lifestyle and mindset and stuff. And then I found that some people just want this like 30-day program. What can I do? So for people like that, that's exactly what I'll do. For 30 days, I have them eliminate gluten, dairy, the other thing like corn and soy and stuff like
Mhm.
that. But the big ones, the hardest ones for people are usually gluten, dairy, alcohol, and coffee.
Yeah.
And it's not to say no caffeine, but just small amounts, like in green tea extract or a cup of green tea or a
Do you
little
give them
yerba
some
mate or something
straps
like that.
too to strap them down to the bed from going
Strap
crazy?
them down. Exactly. But what ends up happening, and when I do that, a lot of times I'll use as a support to that. Arbonne is a company that's been around for 40 years, and they make a nutritional line. They also have skincare and cosmetics, but the nutritional line is a line that I believe in. I like it a lot. And so for people to use their like greens powder and their gut balance powder, and the energy sticks, which is just a green tea extract, and guarana and stuff like that, to support people as they're on this 30-day journey. And what happens then is at the end of 30 days, they say, okay, great. I lost some weight. My clothes fit so much better. I'm sleeping like I've never slept
Mm,
as an adult before. And I wake up in the morning with more energy than I can ever remember waking up with. And it's partially because of the eliminations that they've done, and it's partially because of the fact that they're not having the caffeine, and then they're not having the alcohol. So they're sleeping so well, and then they
right.
wake up feeling so great. And then at the end of it, they're like, all right, I'm gonna have a celebratory cocktail. And they say, that didn't taste as great as I thought it was going
Right.
to. I think I'll only do that on the weekends now. Or they'll
Good.
have some dairy and say, yeah, it doesn't feel as good as I thought it did. At least now I know this is a trigger. So it's not to say that you go then the rest of your life eliminating gluten and dairy. It's just that you know whether or not it triggers you because you've eliminated it for 30 days. So that's something that I think can be a powerful thing for people
Yeah.
to eliminate those things.
Yeah.
And then add it back in a little bit and see where you sit,
Yeah, if
see how
you
it makes you
can, if
feel.
it feels okay. Yeah, that's
Right.
great. So, and also we're in the age of, which is wonderful, body positivity. Do you
Mhm.
think, there's a lot of people that struggle with the 5 to 15 pounds that don't even really need to lose the 5 or 15 pounds, but maybe they need to be more active or feel better about themselves in different ways. Or I know for me, like cardiovascularly, that's my low point. I can do yoga, I can walk, I can go up and down stairs a million times a day, but I don't run and take myself on the cardiovascular, you know, exercise program. So,
Mhm.
and so I feel like I'm not at my best, but do I really need to lose weight? So it's really, again, you have to know your body. But what do you say to a person that is maybe chronically struggling with that 5 to 15, that
Mhm.
maybe they don't really need to lose it? What do you think about that?
Mhm. Yeah, it's an interesting thing. I mean, sometimes it comes down to, it could be a hormone imbalance that is creating that. And so if someone doesn't feel great, then we would look at that and say,
Hmm.
okay, likely there's something underlying there. And if we address that, you'll end up dropping the weight. But the bigger picture, what we're really going for is you to just feel great and to feel better. But you're right, there's such a focus on being a certain weight.
Hmm.
And if that becomes your only focus, you lose out on all these other wins that could be happening, right? All these other things that you could be celebrating because you're so focused just on the number that you see on the scale.
Right.
Um, I do think that cardiovascular and strength training are both really important just for overall health. Um, but cardiovascular doesn't have to look like an elliptical or a Peloton. It could
Right.
be so many different things. Going for a hike, doing the stairs. I mean, I love that you just said that you can
Yeah.
walk up and down the stairs so many times. That's cardiovascular. I mean, that's having a strong cardiovascular system that allows you to do that. I get on the Peloton and my husband laughs at me because I take my Kindle and I prop it up and I turn Allie Love's voice way down because I don't want to hear the instructor.
Uh-huh.
I just want to do a workout, but I use the time to read or to
Oh,
do something else
uh-huh.
while I'm on there. So I actually, to me, that's my draw to do it. Is it's 45 minutes uninterrupted when I can't be called away to do something else because my pedals are clipped in and I'm just doing this. But I can use the time however I want to. As long as I'm pedaling, I can be reading, I can be, responding to emails, scheduling posts, whatever I need to be doing, I can do it from right there. And
Yeah.
we know that the only way to change a habit is to drive it through pleasure. So we get into bad habits because there's something pleasurable about them. It feels good. And that's why you keep doing that habit. The only way to change that is to find something else to feel good about. And it takes 30 days to create a new habit, but it takes 90 days for it to become something that you'll really stick with. So
Mm.
finding a way to associate that other thing with a feeling of pleasure.
Yeah. I'm so
And
glad you said that. Through COVID, me and my friends were constantly talking about we need more rewards in our life. People were not getting enough rewards. And it feels bad to not get enough rewards. And then the reward becomes, oh, I'll go have a cookie after I do this.
Mhm,
That's not a good
mhm.
reward all the time.
No, and you're right, but that is the reward for most people. I made it through the long workday, I can come
Hmm.
home and crack a beer.
Hmm.
Or I made it all the way through dinner, I can have a big bowl of ice cream or something. It's that end of day reward that people have set up. And if we can, instead, you're right, find ways to incorporate rewards throughout the day, we won't feel ourselves craving it so much at the end of the day, or we won't feel ourselves needing that escape as much as we would have. But sometimes we have to create our own pleasure and we have to create our own
Yeah.
reward.
Yeah.
Scheduling 30 minutes in your day to be by yourself or to get up and walk away from your computer, giving yourself breaks when you're
Hmm.
working on a long project. If your goal is to start waking up earlier in the morning so you have that quiet hour in the morning before life hits and the emails start flooding in, you have to create a sense of pleasure around it. Otherwise, it's just going to feel like it's
Yeah.
another to do to get up at 5:45. So how can
Exactly.
you make it a pleasurable experience? It's possible.
It
It's
is.
absolutely possible
I
and
tell you
people
one
do
thing
it
I
all the
do.
time, but
I stop my whole day and go take a bath in the middle of the afternoon if I feel like it. That's what I'll do.
That's perfect. I
It
need
feels
that
so.
today. I'm so freezing
Oh,
sitting
you
at my
are?
desk. I'm in like sunny California,
Oh,
but
well,
I can see out my window. It's breezy and I keep getting a look at myself and my nose is red because I'm cold.
that happens to me too. We'll go
I
take
need
a
to do a
bath.
bath. I
Yeah.
know, exactly.
So before we hop off here, I want to ask you, as the nutrition queen that you are and have been for so many years, what's your guilty pleasure?
Ooh, food wise?
Food first, and then if there's another, please share.
Yeah. Um, food, French fries. Always,
Ah,
hands down,
I knew I liked
100%
you.
French fries. I love French fries.
I do too. And especially if they're
I
gluten
mean,
free. I have to eat gluten free. So I ask everybody,
yeah,
but I know the restaurants that have them. I will go
yeah.
there like a beeline when I need fries.
Yes. Yeah. And
Oh,
fries are potatoes. So in general, they should be gluten free. It's just whether they've shared a fryer
right,
with something
right.
else.
Yeah.
Um, but I love French fries. And my perfect meal, probably even breakfast, but certainly lunch or dinner, is a giant salad and a side of fries. Always.
Oh,
Always, always,
wow.
always.
Okay. So
That's my
being from the
favorite meal.
Midwest, I'm from Kentucky, you're from Michigan. Do you do
Hmm.
ketchup with your fries or mayo or like some of those fancy sauces? Did you ever do ranch?
No,
No
gross.
ranch.
Would not want ranch, or like a buffalo sauce or anything like that. So definitely either ketchup or aioli mayonnaise. And
Okay.
I'll go like full truffle aioli or any of that
Uh,
stuff, but I think I still prefer ketchup.
yeah, I do too. A good crispy
Mhm.
fry with, and I like the thinner ones too. I don't like the fat
I
ones.
know. And I don't really like sweet potato fries. They're
Oh,
too
you
heavy.
don't?
Mm-mm.
Oh, wow.
Every once in a while, they have too much flavor. I don't love the
Uh,
sweetness.
yeah.
It's not what I expect when I bite into a
Right.
good crispy fry. And I love my fries.
Well, that's good to know. Well, the next time I see you at a show or wherever we are, then we'll go have fries.
We'll be sharing a big basket of fries. Yes.
Yeah, good. Well, it's been a pleasure to talk to you, Sarah. And for everyone listening or watching, please visit Sarah at her website, sarasnow.com, and there'll be more information on the screen. So take
Yeah.
good care, and I hope you and your family stay well during this pandemic.
Thank you. You too.
Thank
Stay
you.
well.
Okay.